All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Bullpen Blues. As always, I'm your co-host, Kevin Dixon, joined by our good buddy, David Esser. David, how are we doing today?
Kevin, we're doing well per usual. Had some time to sit on the win last night. We're recording this the following morning. Went to the gym. Took a nice shower this morning, and I'm just sitting here like, Kevin, this is a good baseball team. The Phillies are a good baseball team.
We've been saying it for months.
Yeah.
I mean, people are finally starting to buy in this show. We've been on it for months now with this show. Since they got Dombrowski, this is going to be a good team. They've been overlooked. That's fine. They're still probably being overlooked, but they've got some momentum early. I know they're 6 games in, but 5-1 is much better than 3-3 or 2-4. Like, they have some momentum here.
I mean, we talked about it all off season long, that the way this team starts off the season, because their schedule is Braves, Mets, and then St. Louis Cardinals, who are going to be another, likely playoff team this year. The way the Phillies start this season off is going to set the tempo. It's going to really change the perception. It's going to give everyone momentum. The way the bullpen starts off, the way the starting rotation starts off. And thus far, outside of one hiccup with Vince Velasquez, who is barely on this team, right? They've all come out from top to bottom. I mean, even Roman Quinn, man, stole 2 bases last night. Like, you got to give him some props for doing what he does best. From top to bottom, this looks like a team that is very focused. They've come out hot. They've already given themselves a couple game lead in the National League East. Like, I'm fully aware it's early, but I mean, what else do you want the team to do right now besides win baseball games?
Well, the one part I'll disagree with you with is I can't give anything to Roman Quinn because in 9 official at bats, he has 7 strikeouts.
Yeah, not great.
It's just unfathomably bad. But overall, he's fun to watch. We went to, as you know, I was at the ballpark last night. I went with my cousin and my girlfriend's cousin, who we're pretty tight with. It's like our little group. He's just getting back into baseball. He's someone who hadn't really been watching the last couple of years. So I'm more than happy to, take him under my wing. Take him to the ballpark, see what's going on. And when Roman Quinn was on base, he's like, man, that dude can fly. I'm like, that's the only reason he's on the team, because he can run. He can't really do anything else, but he is fast.
Yeah, I mean, I believe he broke Chase Utley's steal record last night, because Roman Quinn now has 22 consecutive steals without getting caught. Which,
you mentioned it coming into the year, he was 20 for his last 20 a couple episodes ago. Yeah.
Grabbed 2 last night. He's very fast. He's bad at everything else. He's very fast. But actually, Kevin, I actually love that. So it's your girlfriend's cousin that you took to the park?
Yeah. I mean, he's around our age, but he's a big Sixers guy.
Gotcha.
So he's just getting back into the Phillies. So I was like, dude, let's hit a game. Yeah, we went. I had a great time. It was a good ball game.
One of my closest friends, he's historically hated baseball, like gone out of his way to bash the sport and say it's not entertaining. And I finally got him to come around this offseason. He's been watching probably more games than me this year. He's just been sat in front of the TV watching MLB Network, and he's really into it. He's texting me about the Phils. He's texting me about like the Detroit Tigers. So I do love kind of newcomers or people getting back into the sport, reinvesting, especially with the Phillies, because they're a super fun team to watch at the moment. And there's a lot to talk about. But all right, Kevin, let's talk about the series. Phillies win 1-2 games.
Yep.
Great result. We'll take that every single day of the week. What were just your overall thoughts on how the team looked against the Mets?
Well, just to go off of what you just said, you take 2 out of 3 every series, because look, you're not going to win every game. It's baseball. It's way too long of a season. There's no way you're going to win every night. If you just keep winning series, like that has to be the goal. You got to go 2 out of 3, 3 out, or even like if you can split a 4-game set. You don't want to lose series. I already saw it on Twitter on the other night when they lost. It began this team has this flaw, that flaw. And it's just like, brother, it's way too long of a year. They're not going to win every night. Be happy with the start so far. The way they played, though, the thing that's been most interesting to me is they've been winning games in different ways. Like, they have 5 wins. They're probably in 5 different ways that they've won a ball game. They've rallied late. Yesterday, they led the whole way behind the offense. And it was even more so like Nola was in trouble a lot yesterday. And we were talking off the air. He wasn't very good, but he didn't get rocked. He kept them in it. He only gave up 1 run through 4. Obviously not ideal. He only goes 4. We knew at the game, you were looking at the pitch count. And I mentioned to them, like, yeah, he's not going to go long in this game. Same inning, he was at like 90 something, and he was due up second next inning. I'm like, yeah, he's going to come out of this game. Overall, hey man, took 2 out of 3 from the Mets, who everybody's so high on. It was nice to see the Gabe Kapler effect on their side, because what happened to them in the opener with DeGrom is something we'd been through multiple times the last couple of years, where the starter comes out way too early, questionable call, and then blows it late. It was nice for that to be on the other side this time.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that first game real quick, because look, the Phillies wanted Jacob DeGrom start. That's very hard to do. And
with
DeGrom,
Matt Moore on the mound.
With Matt Moore on the mound, and Matt Moore was not great. He got knocked out early. That's impressive, because number one, Jacob DeGrom, I think, is pretty conclusively the best pitcher in baseball. I think maybe Garrett Cole's up there, but I'm pretty confident in the take that DeGrom's the best pitcher in baseball. And he was on, man. He was pumping 101. He threw 102 at one point. Like,
I think his last pitch was 100.
Yeah, like complete freak, awesome performance. And then you're right, we kind of saw that Gabe Kapler effect. And this was something we talked about in the offseason. I think the biggest thing that's going to hold back the Mets this year is the front office, is the coaching staff. I mean, Luis Rojas is not a good manager. He's just not. Like, he had multiple miscues this series where he used the wrong reliever. He took DeGrom out too early. He didn't pinch hit in situations he should have pinch hit at. His lineups were kind of wacky the whole series. Like, that's something that's going to hold the Mets back. And for the Phillies to take advantage of that, specifically in game one, the second DeGrom left that ball game, you saw everybody perk up a little bit. You saw everybody start to get a little bit energized. There was hits, there was more walks, people were stealing bases. And then they won that ball game, and it gave them a little bit of leeway to where they could lose the next day. No big deal. Come back. Aaron Nola on the mound. He wasn't great, but the offense, which we all expected, finally woke up. 2 out of 3 against the Mets, who, again, look, I don't think the Mets are going to make the playoffs this year, but I think they're going to be very competitive. Francisco Lindor is awesome. Pete Alonso is probably going to have a bounce back here. Jacob DeGrom's very, very good. Like, Taijuan Walker, who's on the mound today, I think he's very, very good. Marcus Stroman looked awesome in his first start. But as long as the Phillies are kind of taking advantage of the little miscues, the little mistakes, and winning series, splitting when they can, just keep stacking up wins, it's going to be very hard for the Mets to kind of hang with the Phillies this year.
I want to say, too, and I mentioned this to you when it was happening, how awesome was it to see the guys struggle and be Trevor May and Aaron Loup, who specifically Aaron Loup, who I've heard all along how he was this big addition for the team. We saw him for the Phillies a couple of years ago. He's okay. Like, he's all right. He's nothing like spectacular. So it was awesome to see those two guys struggle. And just to like go off of your Rojas comment, it's not that he can't be a good manager, but he's experienced and he's still learning that it works in the Phillies' favor. He has those miscues that a manager like Girardi, who's a veteran, aside from the Vince Velasquez debacle, which we'll get into as well, typically isn't going to make that kind of mistake.
Yeah, and I agree completely. I don't think Rojas is a good fit for where the team wants to be. Look, they want to make the playoffs. They're all in. Their farm system isn't the greatest in the world.
It's like Kapler on the 2019 Phillies, with the team loaded up and they were ready to win right then and there. And they had an inexperienced manager, which me and you have gone on record saying is that bad. But as you just said, you put it perfectly. He just wasn't where the team was. Like, the team is prepared to win. He's not the kind of guy that you necessarily want there.
Yeah, and from a Phillies perspective, we're going to take that all season long. Look, they have a series with the Marlins coming up, as in the Mets. I'd love to see the Marlins steal a game or two if they can and take advantage of some more Rojas mistakes. But okay, so let's move into game 2. Chase Anderson was on the mound. I love what I saw from Chase Anderson right off the bat. If he is giving you, 2 runs through 5 innings, is that correct?
Yes, 5 or 6 is what you're going to want from him, right? I mean, he gave you 5 with only 2 earned. That's not a bad outing.
I would go as far as to say it's a good outing against the Mets. The Mets have a good offense, a lot of pressure. First start, went out there and just did his job. He got through 5 innings, held him to 2 runs. If you're sitting there the entire year, you're looking at an ERA under 4, which would be pretty spectacular, especially considering some of the back end options the Phillies have had in the past. The Nick Pavettas of the world, the Jake Arrietas of the world, who I guess is an ace now, according to some Cubs fans. But, the Vince Velasquez's, the Cole Irvins, like, we could go on forever. But if Chase Anderson, a savvy veteran who's pitched very well for the Brewers, if he's coming in, giving you 5 innings every single night, granted, they lost the game, but not because of Chase Anderson. I'll take that 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, we talked about this too. We're not worried about Chase Anderson. he's not going to flash spectacularness. He's not going to be elite, but he's a guy who can probably keep you in the game. I mentioned to you, I expect him to be like a 4.2 ERA, which, look, obviously that's not great, but it's your fifth starter. Like, he's not your ace. He's not your two. He's not your three. This is the guy that is just eating innings for you. We mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Just keep you in the game. That's all. Give your team a chance to win. And even Matt Moore, who, even though he left, he was in trouble. Kinsler came in, got the big double play ball. Moore, it wasn't 6-0 when he left. Granted, he didn't make it to the fifth inning, but like, that's the thing. Like, don't get shelled. Give the Phillies offense a chance. That's really all you can ask for from the back of your rotation.
And give the Phillies bullpen a chance to keep the game in striking distance, right? Granted, only a few games into the season, but the bullpen's better. The bullpen looks way better. Like, I'm confident in saying that this bullpen is significantly better. We saw it in Matt Moore's start. He got in trouble. He had to be yanked early. Brandon Kinsler, who we've hyped up all offseason as a savvy veteran, as a guy who's going to come in and make big pitches for the Phillies. What did he do, Kevin? He walked in and he got the outs. He got him out of the jam, kept the game close. So giving the offense a chance to stay in the game for Matt Moore and Chase Anderson, giving the bullpen a chance to do what they do best. That's all we're really going to ask from these two moving forward.
Yeah, and then even I know we're going to get into the third game here in a moment, but like, Coonrod did come in yesterday through 2 scoreless innings. Or I think he actually might have went 1 yesterday, and he went 2 the other night, scoreless innings. He looks like another guy who might end up being a pretty decent middle reliever for this team, and he throws some heat. That guy throws hard. I'm with you. You don't have that uneasy, anxious feeling when these guys are coming into the game. And like you said, we're only 6 games in, but it's refreshing. It feels much better than last year. You had Workman coming in, or Reggie McClain, or Trevor Kelly. I mean, we can go on and on. I mean, like we've mentioned multiple times, we're the bullpen blues for a reason. So it's just refreshing that they've been able to rely on their bullpen early on.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it last episode, but the bullpen's already given the team some wins this year, which, a lot of people are going to quickly point to the fact that it's early in the season. Look, that's great, but we've just gifted ourselves 3 wins against the Braves and 2 wins against the Mets. That's huge. Those wins are worth more than just early season victories. And look, the team started off hot in 2019. I'm fully aware of that, but like, that doesn't take away from the fact that the team has won important baseball games to start the season. So yeah, whether it's Coonrod, Archie Bradley, who I've been super impressed with, Connor Brogdon, who we're going to talk about a little bit later, Hector Neris, love him or hate him, he's looked very, very good this year. I will happily give props when props are due. Those guys coming in, slamming the door shut on the Mets night after night, slamming the door shut on the Braves 3 days in a row. That's really, really important stuff.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, like, just a fun little stat here. The Phillies are the only team in the National League East with a positive run differential. They have the 3rd highest in the National League, 6th highest in all of baseball. I mean, the run differential is a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty important stat.
That's a great stat, Kevin. I didn't know you were whipping that out today.
Yep.
All right.
So, things are looking up.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited moving forward. We're going to talk about, the next series here in a bit, but the Phillies have a baseball game every single day for the next 2 weeks, which is just awesome. Like, I'm never going to class again. I'm going to call in sick to work when I can. Like, I'm so amped up to watch this team at the moment. It's just fun. And like, look, we talked about it last episode. We talked about it through the week. Like, when I see Jose Alvarado start to warm up in the bullpen, dude, I'm excited. Like, even last night when I heard Hector Neris was coming in to pitch the 9th. So actually, I missed the last 3 innings. I had an intramural volleyball game to go to. We got rocked, by the way. I'm not good at volleyball. I'm very tall, but I suck at volleyball. Got absolutely smoked. I came back. I went on MLB TV. I loaded up the recording just so I could watch Hector Neris pitch and Connor Brogdon pitch and Sam Coonrod pitch, because I wanted to kind of evaluate them. And I'm watching these guys pitch. I'm like, these are good pitches, man. They're making good outs. The one weak point in the bullpen, Kevin, and I want to really talk about this now. The only miscue the Phillies have had all week long, all season long thus far, has been Vince Velasquez. He came out, he looked great for 3 batters, 1 strikeout, 2 strikeout, 3 strikeouts.
Yep.
They put him out for another inning, 4 straight walks, gives up a run, completely blows the game open. The Phillies battled hard all the way to the end, but the damage was done. That was probably a loss the Phillies could have avoided. Obviously, grand scheme of things, it's okay, but look, we've tried the Vince Velasquez experiment countless times. He's been on the roster for, I believe this is his 6th year. Is that correct? 6 years now? It's either
I think
5 or
so.
6.
Yeah, 2015 I think was actually it might have been 2016. So was that 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21? Yeah, it's 6 years. Yep.
So look, they've tried him as a starter. They've tried him as a swingman. They've tried him as like a setup closer guy. Looks like they're trying him out as a long man, stretch guy out of the bullpen. Kevin, I just don't think it's going to work.
I think the most infuriating thing about it was I understand that he's in that bullpen to give you length, but like he comes in, he strikes out the side in his first appearance. Get him out of there. Build some like he could have left that game. It probably would have been a completely different tone on this show right now. We'd have been like, okay, all right, he's got some confidence. We're feeling good after a nice outing. I just don't understand why you put him back out there. I get his role, but like that was a perfect spot to just build some momentum for Velasquez. He feels good. Just build some confidence. It really sucked to see. And that loss felt like a 2020 Phillies loss, 2019 Phillies loss. It was just the kind of game that we've seen so many times over the last couple of years. The game just gets away.
Yeah, and I've heard that Velasquez question asked. A lot of people. I wrote an article about Vince after the game, and a lot of the comments were in that regards. Why did Joe Girardi put him out for another inning? I hear that. I guess kind of my question to flip back to you, Kevin, is let's say hypothetically they let him get the one good inning. Are you really confident in the idea that Vince is going to go out in his next outing and not blow the game, or the third outing, or the fourth outing, whenever it is? Like at some point, the law of averages takes over, and he's not going to give you consistent outs.
I would feel better than I do now, though.
Sure.
But you're right. Like at some point, he is what he is.
Yeah.
I'd like to see JoJo come up, man. They need another left-hander in the pen. They really do.
Yeah, and kind of the premise of the article that I wrote 2 days ago for section215.com was that Vince is being paid $4 million. That's just under what Hector's being paid. That's more than what Brandon Kinsler's being paid. Like he's being paid a good amount of money to be a very useful long man. The reason they paid him $4 million was so that he could stretch across 2 to 3 innings. He could make spot starts. If he can't give that to you, it's sunken value. I understand you don't really want to admit that failure. Granted, this was a decision that Klentak and Ned Rice made back when they were still running the show. I would feel so much better if Vince wasn't on the roster, if JoJo was on the roster. I like having a second lefty. It doesn't even have to be JoJo. It could be a random free agent for all I care. It could be Spencer Howard.
Ivan Nova.
Yeah, well, I don't know about all that, but like there's other options where I feel like I would just feel more comfortable knowing that guy's in my bullpen as opposed to Vince Velasquez.
Yeah. Bring up Adonis Medina, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Make him like a multi-inning guy. I think eventually it's going to be Spencer Howard.
Definitely.
I would think so. But why not Adonis Medina, He flashed last year. He was okay.
Yeah, or even Damon Jones, I believe, is Damon DeMond, however the heck you pronounce his first name.
He got some stuff too, man.
He's got some stuff, and he's a lefty. And look, we're talking back of the bullpen, right? These aren't your first guys out of the pen. It's very clear that we have a rotation of Alvarado, Nears, Bradley, Brogdon up at the top. So if you want to reserve that back end of the bullpen spot for kind of a developmental piece, a guy you're trying to work with, give it to Medina, give it to Jones. There's other options. It doesn't just have to be Vince just because you paid him that money. You could admit that failure. Look, it's early in the season. No one's going to care. You could shop him around on the trade block a little bit. I know for a fact that teams called about him during the offseason and the Phillies didn't really pick up the phones. I just think we've done this experiment. You're paying him a lot of money. There's better players already in the organization.
Yeah, we'll see. They mentioned it. I want to say it might have been the radio broadcast. I don't know. I might have been listening to the radio, but they were pretty much saying Vince's leash is going to be much shorter, especially with the fans, as opposed to some of the other guys in the bullpen, which is it's the truth. He's way, way far removed from his 16 strikeout Padres performance. He's been coasting on that for 6 years now.
He really has. It's amazing that even happened. Like, I'm struggling to grasp.
I remember watching that, man. That was spectacular.
Yeah, we all thought he was Cole Hamels 2.0, or whatever the heck you want to call him. We thought he was great.
Bring him back, dude. Make him the long man.
He's still out there. He's still a free agent, right? That's crazy.
Yeah. You got to hope that because I don't know if you saw, because we are getting into Atlanta now. Soroka shut down for at least 2 weeks with right shoulder inflammation.
Yeah, and that's significant.
That's pretty big, yeah, because it's his throwing arm for one.
And look, I never want to see a good young player be hurt or injured. Nope. I hate that. I would hate that if it happened to the Phillies. I hate that it's happening to the Braves. But that was something we talked about during the offseason, was that if Soroka's not at 100%, that's significant. Now you're really, really leaning on Max Fried, who got rocked the other day. Did not look great. You're really leaning on a Charlie Morton, a Drew Smiley, who we're going to get to see this weekend. Kevin, I know you're excited for that matchup.
Can't wait. Harper's taking him deep.
He's taking him deep. So the Soroka news is significant. But so looking ahead to this Braves series, because it's another big one. Look, second time facing the team, this time down in Atlanta. The Braves bats came alive against the Nationals. But Kevin, I'm just looking at the pitching matchups. I'm feeling pretty good. We got Wheeler, Morton, game 1. Eflin, Anderson, game 2. And then Matt Moore, Drew Smiley, game 3. I feel like there's at least 2 winnable games in there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You got to take 2 out of 3, like we were mentioning earlier. For this road trip in general, if they can go 3-3 on the road trip, I think you walk away, that's probably a win, because you come home, you're 8-4. That would be great. How awesome would it be, though, if Matt Moore, Smiley, head-to-head, Matt Moore goes down and just outduels him, considering Smiley got, what, $13 million?
He got a lot. He got a lot of money.
Yeah, so, and they're like, I mean, Smiley probably has better stuff than Matt Moore, but how far apart are they? Are they $10 million apart? Because I would say probably not. I can't wait to face Drew Smiley, man. I've heard it's the same thing with Trevor May and Aaron Loop. I've heard all season how great this guy is and how great the Braves staff is. Drew Smiley's not that good. he's okay. He's not that good. Like, stop selling him to me like he's this big difference maker, because he's not.
Cliff Lee 2.0.
It's like when the Phillies, and I love McCutchen, but they thought they were outsmarting everybody, and they got out in front of the market and gave McCutchen all this money. Ended up not looking so good. It was the same thing with Drew Smiley. The Braves got out in front of the market, gave him, I think it's between 11 and 13. I don't know the exact number. They gave him double digits, though, in the millions of dollars, thinking, oh, yeah, this is great. Turns out the whole offseason teams were very frugal, didn't really want to spend. You got guys on very cheap contracts. It reminds me of that move a little bit. Like, they thought they were setting the market, but in reality, they just significantly overpaid for a guy who's okay. He's a back of the rotation arm.
He's very much a number 5, right? He's nothing.
If he was the Phillies number 5, I would be like, okay. He's not worth $13 million.
No, he's not. And like, you look at some of the other caliber of pitchers who were signed for that money, Corey Kluber, James Paxton, Taijuan Walker. Like, there's way, way better pitchers out there.
It's incredible. They bought in over 30 innings last year with the Giants. Yeah. Like, he was good last year, but like, the sample size was so small that it's like, come on.
I initially, when I heard that they were talking to Smiley, I kind of thought they were going to bring him in as a reliever. I kind of think that's where his spot might be the best.
A really good reliever.
I think he'd give you 3 innings whenever you want, but as a starter on double digits, yeah, that's a lot. I'm with you. I think
aspirations of winning the World Series, like,
yeah. I think Matt Moore is going to outduel him on Sunday. Good Sunday night baseball, rubber match potentially. I think Matt Moore is going to give him some work.
I hope so. That would be awesome. Let's take. If they can even go 4-2 on this trip, 4-2 would be massive. It's 6 games, right? They got 3.
I believe it's 7. I think it's a 4-game. Yeah, 4-game series against the Mets. So that's a tough one.
Okay, so let's try to at least go 4-3.
Yeah, if they can win another series against the Braves and split with the Mets, that, and I think that's kind of setting our expectations a little low. If the bats heat up the way they looked like they were heating up yesterday, they can outright win both series straight up. If the pitching continues to pitch the way they've been, if Nola kind of figures it out moving forward. But I feel pretty confident that they're going to win 2 against the Braves with Eflin and Wheeler on the mound. And then you're looking at a 4-game series against the Mets, where teams are really going to have to go deep into their bullpens. And as we saw in this first series against the Mets, the Phillies might have a better bullpen than New York.
I think they do. I definitely think they do. New York's really counting on a guy like Betances.
Yeah, who did not look good. He looked horrible
yesterday. So they're really counting on him. Like, he's kind of a wild card, though, because if he can regain his form, he's a damn good late inning reliever.
Yeah, we've been saying that with him for about 3 years now, though. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think the big key is don't get swept in either one of these series.
Definitely.
Try not to go, at worst, maybe go 3-4. Like, obviously, you're really setting the bar low, but like, you just want to not give up a lot of the ground that you just made this week. You know, like don't give it back.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we talked about it all offseason. We talked about it earlier in the podcast. The way the Phillies look through these first couple of games is so important. They've looked great thus far. They did the early work. They did the heavy lifting. They took care of business in the first 2 series. It's time to keep the momentum going, because after that, we have a series against St. Louis, San Francisco, Colorado, St. Louis. So, you know, you're going to be away from the division for a little bit. So now's the time to really stack up that win advantage against the teams that ultimately matter the most.
I do want to say, though, if God forbid they go 2-5 on this trip, let's not jump off board saying that to the fan base. Like, it's a long season.
Oh, you know people will jump off board.
I know they will. That's why I feel like I got to come out and say it. Like, there's going to be a time this year where the Phillies lose 4 in a row. It's going to happen because you play 162. Atlanta went 0-4 to start the year. Like, that's a good ball club. It's going to happen at some point. Let's just enjoy the ride this year. I don't want to have to be dealing with people jumping off after every single loss. It's a very long year. It's only April 8th. Like,
that was something I was trying to teach my friend who's getting into baseball the other day, that it is very much a marathon.
It's a marathon.
Sprint. You know, things that are happening this week, it's fun to watch. It's fun to get excited about. Look, I'm very much a proponent of be excited about this team because they're winning games, which is something we haven't experienced in quite some time. But you can't make any grand conclusions, you know, this early on.
It's just way too early. And look, most teams are going to lose 4 or 5 in a row at some point. The key is, obviously, you want to try to not let it happen, but don't let it become a habit.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you have a guy like Wheeler and Nola and even Eflin now, if you want to raise him up a little bit. They're stoppers. They stop the losing streak. That's like the point of having an ace. You know, you're in a bad way and you can send that guy to the mound and feel good that you're going to get a win today. Phillies luckily have a couple of those guys. So realistically, they shouldn't have too many of those losing streaks. But like we said, they're not going to win every game. It's not the Eagles.
I think okay. Speaking of the Eagles, public service announcement. Can we stop with the Eagles chants at Phillies games?
It happened in our section yesterday, and I just shook my head. I'm like, come on.
The Eagles stink. Like, we're not doing that. The Eagles suck. This is a Phillies town right now. This is a Phillies and Sixers town. I don't care about the Eagles.
Sixers, baby.
Yeah, we got the Sixers jersey. I got a Sixers jersey in the back.
Rocking Dr. J right now.
Yeah, we love Dr. J. We don't love the Eagles right now. They are very dead to us. So cut it with the Eagles chants. Kevin, I got 2 big takes to round out the podcast. I was
wondering if you were going to get to them.
Oh, we're getting to it. 100%. And I know I just said we shouldn't make grand conclusions off the first week of the season, but I'm going to do that. Kevin, do you want the super hot take first or the mildly hot take first?
Well, see, I don't know which one is which, because I am going to have a comment off of one of yours. So you know what? Just give me the mild and then the super hot.
Okay. Mild hot take. Then I want you to comment. Actually, I think you might actually agree with this take. Connor Brogdon, by the end of this season, will be universally viewed as the best reliever on the Phillies.
3-0. Can't get much better than that.
Leading the MLB.
Is he only have 3 appearances, right?
I think that might be the case.
Yeah. I mean, he's already a big time reliever for them. So, yeah, it's funny because he really turned it on in September. I remember he had an outing where like he was just cooking in September last year. I forget who he was pitching against. And that's when it was kind of like, okay, this dude's going to be good. I really like what I've seen so far. And that's not even a knock on the other arms in the bullpen because they have good arms, but like it's more of a praise towards Brogdon. I could see that. I'm not saying I necessarily totally agree with it, but I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah, and the competition's there. You know, Hector's going to finish the year leading the team in saves, hopefully. Alvarado's going to continue to blast 101 sinkers every time he steps now. Archie Bradley, I've been super impressed with him. He gave up a run the other night, but it wasn't, it was like a wonky triple off the corner and then wild pitch. Like, who cares? Like, he's looked very good. He's got
like
the
a fun guy to root for. He's going to be.
He's great, man.
Yeah, he's a guy that I would expect, as long as he's not awful, they're going to resign him, and he'll be back.
Very much hope they do.
He's embraced the city.
It feels like he was born to be a Philly.
Yeah, he's totally embraced it.
But, you know, with that said, I look at a guy like Brogdon. His fastball sitting 96, 97. His changeup is just filthy. Like, there is so much movement. It is such. There was an at bat where I don't even think he threw a fastball. It was just changeup out, and I was just like, this guy's operating on a different wavelength. It's been 12 plus innings without giving up a run. His strikeout numbers are very high. He induces a lot of weak contact. He's still super young. I'm not trying to insult Brogdon, but he's really skinny. So you would expect as he gets, adds some more muscle to his frame, continues to get stronger as he gets a little bit older, like his fastball might even go up.
It's a very common comparison, and I feel like you know where I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. You think Ryan Madson, man. And Ryan Madson's a guy whose velocity improved as he got bigger and stronger. And it's the way he pitches. It's not even what he looks like, because he does look like Ryan Madson too. He's just a tall, lanky guy. Man, if he could become a Ryan Madson, who I will argue is one of the more underappreciated Phillies from that era. That guy was spectacular. Man, that would go a long way. And it's a very popular comparison, but I think it's on point. A lot growing up, I see that in Brogdon as well.
Yeah, and everybody remembers Lidge.
Bridge to Lidge, man.
Yeah, I mean, Lidge was perfect in 08, like absolutely crazy, and very much was probably the most well-respected reliever on that staff. But that doesn't have to take away from the work Madsen did. You're right; he was a bridge to Lidge. He did everything he had to, and I think Brogdon could end up in that role where he's kind of the go-to arm in the 8th inning when he's his pitch count's lower, and kind of be the bridge to Hector Nears. And Hector Nears gets the job done. That's a heck of a 1-2 punch to finish most games with. Not even to mention Alvarado, Archie Bradley, Sam Coonrod, who's looked really, really good. But yeah, so that's take number 1. Okay. Let's get to take number 2, and this one's a little bit more out there.
This is the one that I have a comment for.
Okay, and I think I might know what your comment is, and I don't know if I agree, but we'll get to my take first.
I don't think you do know, because I feel like you will.
Okay. I've been sitting on this take for about a year now. I kind of thought this when the signing was first made. I think Zach Wheeler's a better overall pitcher than Aaron Nola.
Well, my comment to that is that doesn't have to be a slight to Aaron Nola.
Oh, it's not. It's not.
Exactly. It's more of a compliment to Wheeler.
Yes.
It doesn't take away from Nola. That was my comment, because we were talking about that the other night, or it might have even been last night. It doesn't take away. It doesn't mean Nola stinks.
No.
Yeah.
Very good.
I think Wheeler's a sleeper Cy Young guy.
If he pitches the way he did last year, I mean, last year's ERA was in the 2s.
35-1. There's good value on him to win the Cy Young.
Yeah.
35-1 are his odds. I got $6 on it.
Okay. We like that. No, so my reasoning with Wheeler is I just think his style of pitching's a little more consistent than Nola's. When Nola's on, he's on, right? His curveball snapping, his 2-seamers all over the place in a good way. His changeup's nasty. He's been working on that cutter. When Nola's on, he's one of the probably top 10 pitchers in the league. I think the problem is Nola tends to not always be on every single, maybe every 3rd, 4th outing, he's going to be a little shaky. That's okay. I'll take that as long as we keep getting the elite Aaron Nola, which we will continue to get. With Wheeler, he's always going to have that fastball that's sitting 99, 100. We saw 101 in game 2 against the Braves. So even if his off-speed stuff isn't moving great, you still have a 100-mile-per-hour fastball that you can lean on. And that's always going to be dangerous. That's always going to get you through probably 6 innings, 5 innings at a minimum. And then when he's on, you're looking at 7, 8 innings. We saw last year he was able to get outs without the strikeouts. We saw this year.
Was big. I think that was really big for him taking the next step.
Yeah, forcing weak contact.
Strike everyone out.
And we saw against the Braves that he can strike everybody out. 10 Ks through 7 innings was insane. That's my take. Again, game 1 in the playoffs, I'm probably still putting Nola out on the mound just because his ceiling's a little bit higher. But I think just over the course of a full, 30-plus start season, I think Wheeler's, numbers might end up being a little bit better than Nola's this year.
Yeah, and just to so it doesn't seem like we're ripping on Nola, because we're not. Love Aaron Nola. 2 out of the last 3 years, top 7 Cy Young finishes.
Yes.
Like he's very underappreciated. We just need him to be bigger in big spots. I think that's the big thing. Is when it gets to August and September this year, you can't have him disappear.
And for what it's worth, that's been a theme with the entire organization. That the front office has made the wrong moves around the trade deadline. You know, the bullpen's collapsed, the offense has gone missing. You know, we all remember Reese Hoskins' 2019 ghost show where he just completely disappeared off the face of the earth. Harper was battling injuries last year, so it's not even just oh man, if Nola was more clutch, this team would have won the World Series last year. That's not the case. Obviously, need him to be better in September moving forward. That's really when I think focus is going to laser in. But yeah, it's not a knock on Nola. I just think the Phillies signing of Zach Wheeler was just really, really good.
Yeah, we talked about it. I actually put out a tweet last night. Like, could you imagine if they'd signed Bumgarner?
Oh, it'd be a disaster.
And at the time, I wanted Wheeler all along. Like even before in 2019 in the summer, I wrote an article. It was my first ever piece, I believe. Trade deadline targets for the Phillies. Wheeler was number 1.
Okay.
With that said, I wanted them to sign Wheeler, but Bumgarner was another guy I was interested in them signing. Thank God I'm not running the front office, dude. That guy's fallen off, and Wheeler has taken his game to another level.
Yeah, I think I wrote a piece for thatballsoutaofhere.com back during the 2020 offseason. It was before I joined Section 2 and 5, and I kind of ranked the free agent starters. I always had Wheeler as number 1. You know, I kind of viewed Garrett Cole as untouchable. Like we just weren't going to get him. I didn't want Strasburg. Yeah, too much. Strasburg, didn't want him injured. Madison Bumgarner, the velocity was dipping fast. I liked like a Dallas Keuchel. I was in on that, but I always had Wheeler number 1. I liked the velocity. I was like, as long as this dude's healthy, which I think he is, if you're pumping 100, you're pumping 100, man. Like that's just gonna be hard to hit.
Yeah, and you mentioned Keuchel. What a I don't understand why the Phillies weren't in on him, but in 2019, like all he's done the last 2 years is 3.12 ERA.
Yep.
I mean, like it was so obvious, and he even like shots at the Phillies at the time, like they didn't want me.
Yeah, I remember that.
Motivation. Thank God Dombrowski's here, man.
Yeah, he's making the right moves. Okay, so yeah, those are my 2 takes. You know, we'll see how Twitter feels about the Nola Wheeler one. Again, not a slight on Nola. I just think Wheeler's really, really good. Kevin, we got a heck of a lot of baseball coming our way. 3 games against the Braves, 4 games against the Mets. Do you have any final comments before we sign off today?
Just so happy it's baseball season. It sounds so silly to say because we're a baseball podcast, but like I get to get off here. I'm off work today, so I'm going to watch the Mets Marlins because, as you know, it's my 3rd year in a row. I've got MLB TV. I'm a subscriber.
Yes, sir.
I will have it every year from now on because I watched so much of it. I get my money's worth. In April, I get my money's worth, and then the rest of the year, it's whatever. I'm going to watch some Cubs Pirates and watch former Philly Arrieta continue his ascension back in the solid middle of the rotation on. For future Philly Chris Bryant has already homered today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I just it's like the beauty of baseball. It's what is today? Thursday. It's a Thursday afternoon, and there's 8 games on in the afternoon. Like it's just beautiful, man. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah, I'm going to edit this podcast right after we're done, and I'm going to go play some baseball, a little bit of wiffle ball action this afternoon. Me and the roommates, a couple boys, get together playing some ball. But yeah, definitely agree. I'm so happy it's back. With that said, that's all we really got for you guys today. We're going to be back here in a couple of days to recap the Braves series, recap the Mets series. If you haven't already figured out, we've kind of branched off onto our own podcasting platform. So just the Bullpen Blues podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. You can find all of that on our Twitter page at Bullpen Blues Pod, on our Facebook page at Bullpen Blues Podcast. We're also on YouTube, by the way. If you search Bullpen Blues Podcast on YouTube, you can watch our podcast as we record them here now. All of that stuff will be down in the description below. We appreciate all your guys' support. We're excited to keep talking some baseball moving forward.
Before we go, leave some reviews on the pod. It's looking very bare right now on
yes.
Yeah, just go rate and review. Let us know where you want us to improve, what you're enjoying. Because we certainly appreciate everything that our listeners do, because that's why we're here, right? definitely appreciate all of our listeners. We want to hear from you.
Yeah,
So,
leave a review through Apple Podcasts, drop a comment on the YouTube, drop a reply on Twitter. Let us know what you want to hear. Preferably a 5-star review on Apple. We'd appreciate that. But we'll take a 4-star if that's really what you want to do. We're okay with that.
If it's not a 5-star, let us know where we can improve.
Yes, constructive criticism, please. We appreciate that. But yeah, with that said, like I said, we're got a lot of baseball coming our way. Some good weekend night games. So those are always fun. But yeah, we are the Bullpen Blues podcast. We'll be back in a couple of days.
Go Phils.